it. I'm just letting you know. Oh,
Okay,
now
on that note,
good
we are
timing. I didn't get that in on the recording.
on the recording. Yeah. So he was a debonair guy, right?
He
Sure,
was,
let's go with that. He had money. That's what I always figured.
Hey, he had something.
Okay, so welcome to the sixth installment of our guild session. Today, we talked a little bit on Discord. We want to make the transition from words to actions, and we're preparing. So if you don't mind, Uncle Alex today is going to run you a little presentation, 9 brief slides to let you know what I'm thinking and how I see these things progressing. We're happy to have Woody here who can guide us. So let me share my screen. And let me know when you can see it. Can people see the screen? Okay.
Got it, Alex. Yep, looks good.
So this is something that I've been using in my practice, and I find it quite useful, because the reason for that is to kind of constrain because we are all over the place and people working on this and that. So this is the democratic way for us to decide what to work on. It's called Popcorn Flow. Popcorn is an acronym, and it was invented by Claudio Perrone. And I tried it. I like it. So I'm proposing here that we try it as a group today. So what it is a workflow board that turns challenges into options, experiments, feedback, and then the next question worth exploring. So it's a track work as a learning system. And so just briefly, P in Popcorn stands for problems and observations. O stands for options. P for possible experiments, C for committed experiments, O for ongoing experiments, R for review, and then N for next. The next P is the next problem to investigate. And you interrupt me anytime with any questions. Feel free to stop me. Okay, so the next slide. Why this matters? This board is not just for tracking progress, because Kanban is for tracking progress, more suited. But the core argument here is simple. Work starts with real challenges that we observe, and the best response to that is experimentation that produces feedback. So the first step would be we make problems and observations visible, so they're not just hidden or we're treating them as a background noise. Then the next step, the second step, is we generate multiple options before we are locking into one direction. So it's a little bit of a casting the wide net. Then the third step is we use experiments to gather evidence, not to prove that the first idea was right. Because oftentimes we have the tendency, the first thing that pops into our head, we just jump on it and we just chase it down the road. The key takeaway would be this board helps us see the work. It's always in front of us, visible. The learning comes from experiments, review, and deciding what to explore next. So the mnemonic, the 7 columns, left to right, this is a learning flow. So the first column, problems and observations, it is what challenge deserves attention, because we have many challenges in life, and then we have to pick our battles. Like not all the challenges at the same level of urgency or importance. The second column, options, is what are the plausible ways forward, when we can have always probably more than one way. Given the problem, there's probably very rarely just one way to deal with it. And then the second P is possible experiments, which how could we test the chosen option? Let's say we choose one option, and now the experiment should be something that we can try and test, see if it makes sense or not. Then once we kind of settle on that, then we have moved to the right to the column C, which is committed experiments, meaning what is ready to start when capacity opens. Committed doesn't mean we start right away, but the next thing in line when capacity opens, we jump on it. And then now we're looking at O, which is ongoing experiments, which is what are we running right now. And then moving further to the right is the review, what actually happened and what did we learn. And once we're done with that, we move into the last column, N, for next. What do we need to learn next? Because usually from the learning experiments, we realize, now we better jump on the next thing, whatever it is. So we start with a challenge and then widen the net before we narrow. So the way it works is the front end of the flow consists of 3 columns. The problems and observations is we capture what changed, what hurts, or what is not well understood. So it doesn't have to be necessarily just a problem. It could be just an observation, like, okay, we don't think we understood this well. And that should materialize into options, which means we split the problem into multiple possible responses instead of assuming there is a single answer. So realistically, there's always more than one answer. And then P would be possible experiments, the second P in popcorn. We turn the chosen option into testable experiment. And then each possible experiment must or should define the action, meaning, okay, what does this experiment entail? What are we going to do? The duration. I mean, it doesn't have to be precise, but if we chose an experiment that's going to take 6 months, and maybe we don't want to do it, should be contained, should be something that we could easily accomplish quickly. And then what are the expectations? What outcome do we expect to see once we run this experiment? All right. The execution discipline is we separate ready to run work from work already in motion. So we kind of keep them separate. The C column, committed experiments, these are approved, but they're sitting in a queue and haven't yet started. So they're kind of in a limbo. And then the O for ongoing experiments, we pick only small number and they should run at once. And the recommendation is to keep this work in progress really very small, a couple of experiments, no more. Because small batches speed up feedback. Committed work can wait, ongoing work should stay limited. The learning loop, basically the review converts activity into insight and the next restarts the cycle. So in the review, we ask, what did we expect to happen from this experiment? And then compare it to what did actually happen. The question is, what did we learn? And what opportunity do we now see, which moves us into the next? Based on what we learned, what do we need to learn next? So we are back to problems and observations. So it's a cycle. And I'll give a couple of examples. This is from my previous practice. I was working at a large organization, and I was introducing TDD, and then, okay, the non-technical people who are, in charge, they were challenged that. They were like, okay, well, why is it so important? Why do we need to invest money into training people to learn TDD? So we use the popcorn board, basically moving from a communication problem to a hands-on presentation experiment and then into review. So we had the board, and one thing on the board was like, okay, non-technical staff do not see the benefit of TDD, so that's a problem. What options do we have? We came up with 3 options. First one, ignore the problem, who gives a crap, right? We just herding cats, we don't care. Well, that's irresponsible. So the second one would be maybe suggest some reading material so that the non-technical staff can read and learn about it. And then the third option was organize a tailored presentation for them. So we chose that one. And moving to second P, what are the possible experiments with organizing a tailored presentation? One would be like, okay, let's publish a wiki article. Second one was write a technical blog post, a bit more pointed. And the third one was run a lunch and learn with a hands-on demo. But that one was voted as making more sense. Then that one was committed. There was a lunch and learn demo selected and scheduled. It was then moved into ongoing. We delivered the presentation, lunch and learn, hands-on. We did a review on that. After we delivered the lunch and learn, and then let me just move this. The next thing would be, what is the next learning opportunity? Okay, so that was pretty good. And then another example I want to share here is finding actionable code quality metrics. The problem was that there was a lot of disagreement on what code quality means. So the problem was these criteria were not actionable. We can just talk till we're blue in face and disagree and didn't go anywhere. So the options, we came up with 3 options. Let the team decide. So because I was leading a number of teams, let each team decide locally what they figure would be quality options. The second option was the mandate pull request reviews as one of the possible options. And the third one was automate code quality analysis in CI pipeline. So we chose that one. And then we started thinking about, okay, now that we want to automate, what are the possible experiments? The first one was using SonarQube reports. Second one was using something called Microsoft App Metrics reports. And then the third one was use app metrics in automated build code. So it was kind of baked into the pipeline, like a build code bar or standard. That one was committed. Then we moved it into progress. And at the time when I was reading this article, and I forgot what happened, it was an ongoing experiment, so it took a bit longer. Okay, so the last slide, basically takeaways is 5 ideas to leave with the team. Number 1, surface real problems and observations first. So that's like pick our battles. Second one is keep multiple options visible before choosing one. Don't just jump on the first one that pops to mind, like, let's try that. So, so widen the net, have few things in front of us, discuss them. Then the third step, design experiments with action, duration, and expectation. The fourth one, limit ongoing work so feedback arrives faster. We don't want to wait too long. And lastly, use review and next step learning to keep the flow alive. So this is the kind of, as I like to say, the organization is moving at the speed of learning. Those that learn faster, I think, move faster and more competitive. Okay, so that ends my little Mickey Mouse presentation. Just want to hear if you have any comments or suggestions. This is all work in progress, and it can be better and better and better.
I think it's great. I think this is a really great starting spot, and who knows how much better it will become. It's a good starting spot.
Excellent. So thank you, Woody. Any other comments?
Just one from my side. How will we connect this to this governance framework Nicolas created to make the decisions we make today regarding with the popcorn method feasible for the other guild members?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't thought about it. I'm sorry. I was busy preparing a few things, but we'll talk to Nicolas. Nicolas, his Wi-Fi is out, so sadly he could not join today, but I'll try and reach out to him, see how we can shoehorn that into. Garrick?
Just general observation. I like the fact that this is effectively, depending on how you want to phrase it, either walking our talk or eating our own dog food with regard to a focus on learning. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, because this is not the first time. This is my first rodeo, right? And it's always the same. It's just people all over the place, and people keep, flailing and changing their mind, and then they start butting heads, and it's, and it's not like a macho head game. We want to be democratic, and we want to. Everybody has equal weight in what they. So I'm going to post. I built a quick popcorn board, and I posted a link to it in the chat. So again, I will share my screen again to show you. So I hope you can see my screen. This is a popcorn flow board for AI Craftspeople Guild. If you click on that link, then you should be able to register. I'll just show you. I'm going to sign out. And I'm assuming you can see my screen. I'm not talking to them. Anyone?
Yes, we
Okay,
can see
cool.
it, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I'm all right. So when you go there and it's going to load the app, please click on create an account and then put any email you want. Doesn't matter, password. And instead of creating organization, click on join as an existing organization and use ACG. Lowercase, important. And then you create the account. I'm going to log in. So in here, I put the null problem, just Mickey Mouse. But the idea here, guys, is once you log in, is feel free to enter any problem you think is worth our attention. And in particular, if we can focus today on, tomorrow we are planning to have a mob programming or teaming session. What do we think should be tackled tomorrow as a hands-on Woody's approach to teaming, which we can talk about later. But we want to vote today, hopefully, what are we going to tackle tomorrow? Also, the trick, I think, is to try and pick something that is quite small, like small batch. Okay, we can pick a big problem, like, oh, we need to solve world hunger on this board, but something that is doable in a foreseeable time frame. If you don't feel like typing, maybe you can tell me and I'll type it in. We can add a problem. And then another thing, maybe a problem we can tackle. This board that I quickly built does not automatically refresh. You need to hit reload your browser. So maybe one idea is to improve this board so that it automatically refreshes when somebody makes a change. So it has some kind of a publish, subscribe queue, or I don't know. It's, again, many ways to skin a cat. So I don't know how you guys want to, everybody log in and you just start adding your stuff, or do you want me to be the typist? Or do you don't want to do that? I mean, I'm not going to push this on people.
Alex, what was your organization again? We should type
ACG lowercase.
ACG.
AI People Guild, ACG lowercase. And you can put any email you want, but maybe use some moniker that we recognize who's who. This is all like an early prototype. It's
Alex, I'm wondering if this would be a good kind of asynchronous task for us to do. I don't know about everyone else, but I know I have some great problems to solve, but as I'm sitting here, none of them are coming up.
I already had an idea, but I want to suggest we can maybe just put it, defer the voting until tomorrow, so we can have, voting
guys,
just before we start.
Yeah, guys, so you can throw in anything you want. You will see on each of the problems, there's a thumbs up. And as we keep voting, it's gonna bump. Like if I now click on this login for guild members, and if you refresh, it bubbles up to the top. I don't know if you can see that. So as things are getting voted, it goes up and up. And everyone can vote only once. So there's a one person, one vote. Guild clock to visualize member time availability, schedule, fantastic. I mean, these are great ideas. Let's throw them in, and then we will vote. Whatever bubbles up to the surface will move into options. Now that we have picked this problem, let's now add options and vote on options. And then once we have the option bubbles up, we can move into the possible experiments, vote on experiments, and then whichever experiment is the most popular moves into committed. We don't have to finish it right now or today, but it would be nice to have something maybe possibly for tomorrow's teaming session. Yeah, the problem is we need to keep refreshing the page. It does not automatically refresh because I didn't have the time to implement that.
Ooh, no problems.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
There's something that Kent Beck says about our work. He says, rather than do estimates, just work on the most important thing until it is done, or it's no longer the most important thing. And what I like to bring forward is a slight modification of that. And it's that anything we think is important is worth starting with. From doing it, we will learn more about what's important to do next. So we often get stuck in the, well, which one's most important and which one should we do first? I kind of just, once we get a couple items on the board, we're ready to start. So I'm not saying we don't need more here. I'm just saying plop them down. Those ideas become kind of a backlog, and the important things will bubble up as we start on anything.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
A good way to start is just get a few things up there. One of the big problems in life is, what are we going to do with the one ring? Clearly we've got to do something with it, right? I'm referring to, of course, Lord of the Rings, but that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Like, what are we going to do? And, sometimes what we end up doing guides us to, well, we can't do that. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's sort of what this is about.
Those are good points.
Plus, one of the nice things about Agentics is that we can have a bunch of different things going off in different directions at once. And at least I think make enough progress with them to determine, if they're valid, if they're actionable, if there's something we feel is really important. So that'll be nice.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting to me in this board is it kind of defers the point where we start talking about what are our expectations. We're still kind of like Woody says, we're just tossing ideas in. We can start working on them, but there's maybe premature to say right off the bat, what is my expectation? It's an experiment, it's a null hypothesis. Eventually it hardens into, okay, guys, now we are going to do this. What do we expect to see? And then there's a learning outcome. Either you didn't do anything and we just like, okay, we learned that this is a blind alley, or oh my God, I did not expect that, or oh, it delivered exactly as we were expecting. You never know. Okay, we have a whole bunch of things. Great. Now, the problem here is we never know when. Go ahead, Ludger. You're on mute.
One quick question. What is the main intention for today's mob programming session?
There's no main intention, but since we are planning to have the mob programming or teaming exercise tomorrow, I'm hoping that we can somehow brainstorm and pick one challenge or topic that we can move in tomorrow, roll up our sleeves and start building. And, it's all very just early days trying, but we're hoping to get this kind of the team gelling and pulling in the same direction, because there's a lot of energy being dissipated in pulling in different directions and it never materializes and people are getting frustrated. So I thought, let's have a more, like, make these ideas bubble up to the surface, make them visible, see if we can kind of constrain them to hopefully one thing that everybody voted like, yeah, we think this is a good thing to do tomorrow. And then tomorrow we will have whatever happens. It's just fun. Bring your beer.
Focus is more on the learning and the observation what comes up.
Yeah, and it's always fun. I mean, I've never been to a mock program session that wasn't fun. Even if somebody storms out cursing, even that is fun.
Perfect. Thank
you. Yes, I had people come to me and say, you know what? I think this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, okay. But some people say, I can't wait to do it again. Actually, most people say that. But we'll see, So another problem here is we don't know when we are done with, because I have to check, has everyone submitted, or do you guys want a bit more time?
I finally figured it out.
What was that?
I said I finally was able to figure it out. I don't know what it is with these websites y'all have to be going to, that none of them like me. I got to hack into them. Got to create new web addresses each time. It's crazy.
Oh,
of course, it's operator error. I'll say that 100%.
Well, you're a rogue element, a rogue agent. All right. So how many do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll delete the null problem because who cares about null problems? Is 6 enough, or do you guys want to throw some more in? And feel free to vote.
Oh, cool. How does the voting?
Just click on the thumbs up.
Okay, that's a vote, because that's what I did. So
yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right. So what I see here, and I hope nobody just did it just for a lark. The highest voted problem is has 5 votes, has a login for guild members with GitHub OAuth and editable profile plus more contents, etc. So I like etc. Is that something we want to now start looking to options, or do we still want to? But I assume, Iona, you had some, maybe you can just quickly throw some details on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an entry point.
Yeah.
From what I see, the other suggestions, I think they all find a home within this framework that we would be building. So I think once we have this first problem off the table, the other ones will find a solution in there.
Okay.
That's the etc. part. It's just very open.
Okay, so if everyone is in agreement, and this now has 6 votes, it's really top of the board. Are you guys okay? Let's move into options. So let's add some options. How would we consider going and working on this? So right now our GitHub repo is static. It's just HTML.
We need another hosting platform.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a root server that can run everything. So that's one option.
Isn't this render.com?
Oh, it's hosted. Oh no, I'm talking about the guild site.
Oh, okay. Sorry, misunderstood.
This board, I just whipped it up. It's just for us to dig around. But for actual guild site is GitHub pages. GitHub, so it's static. It's just HTML, nothing else, and some images. But now Yona is suggesting we move it into a grown-up world where it's dynamic, it's authenticated, and like you say, Yona, everybody owns their own page on the guild site, and you can start adding valuable content. So add options, and remember to keep reloading, because unfortunately this is not automatically refreshing. Kelly?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that we are missing some of the functionality that Thomas and I have both known with GitHub. So I'm actually going to pass this football to Thomas, because I don't know that we need to create another site. GitHub has everything that we need, and we can work in there unless I'm wrong. Thomas?
Yeah, throw that option in.
Yeah, I'll make a paper about it.
Whatever ideas, just throw into the option under this login for guild members. I facetiously threw it. Go ahead.
It's not a different problem. It's playing off of what you guys are just saying. Oh, we need to create these different sites. They're all within GitHub. The authorization, all that is within GitHub. Is that, are we confused here on that? It's not that we're creating I don't want to create another problem. Are you saying in the original problem where we're talking about creating everyone in the Git for ACG, and then we work from there? So when we start creating code bases and we start creating new repos, those should be within the ACG Git itself. And then we are all authorized in there, and we all work in there instead of continually creating repos in our own Git that have to do with ACG. And then we try to figure out how that's going to link back. It won't, because the way the SEO works, and this goes back to the original flywheel document that I made at the very beginning of this all, which was basically that we want to play off of the SEO. And the way that it's going right now with Google is, if you have these technical things and all of the users and everything is flowing from that main Git, it's going to drive traffic to that Git. We don't want it driving traffic to all different people's repos, and then they have to figure out, oh, that's related to ACG, or it's linked at the very bottom of your repo. So does that make sense? I'm just talking about a basic organizational foundation.
Let me just ask this question. So you have your own page on the ACG on the guild site, right? Right, Kelly?
Right. But yeah.
No, let's say you want to make some changes. How would you make changes? You want to add some material to your page.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. We all have to be authorized to go in and edit in there. And then we have a page that's in there, but we need to be working from that page instead of what we're doing, where we're all just creating products for the guild. Like, for example, I created the whole guild thing. I need to figure out a way to just create a new repo, put everything in there, and then that's the driving point for traffic, and that's how the SEO will pick it up. So it all has to come under that main ACG Git, and then we each have our individual pages. But and I haven't worked in an organizational way. Like I said, Thomas has done so much with Git. I think he's really taken it to levels that probably people have not been aware that Git is able to do.
Okay, so then
and I can't speak to that. Yeah.
Maybe let's hear if Yona has some points that whether he agrees with you or whether we continue. It's all open.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is implementation detail. The point is, I want some place where we have shared responsibility, shared permissions, and also our own stuff that we can add. I think GitHub is a natural habitat for that. And if we have a slim site around it, maybe with our own backend, we can already do a lot. We can run agents around it. We can have our own runners. We are not limited to 2,000 minutes a month. So yeah, I think this all matches. But yeah, I mean, we can move to a separate host whenever it's necessary. I don't know how much we can do with GitHub hacks or whatever.
All right, so you have your Python backend as an option. I facetiously put WordPress just for shits and giggles. We have
Thank you.
you know, if anybody has any other ideas for options, throw them in and then we can vote.
Hey, Alex, just a quick thought for me, and I wanted to kind of underline what Kelly was talking about in terms of, it sounds like she's describing kind of more of a mono repo structure, which I agree with. So my interpretation of kind of how this may go is like if you have a core ACG repo, and then you have top level folders for each initiative or experiment or problem that we want to solve, or maybe it's an app. So for example, we've been talking about a new browser, or we've been talking about a lot of these kind of big ideas that I think we're eventually shooting for. So I also tend to agree that if we stick with GitHub as our central code repository, as the way we kind of centrally collaborate as much as we can. GitHub does have issues that you can use. It does have kind of a basic way of tracking work, which I don't think replaces Popcorn. I think what you've done with Popcorn is awesome because we need a way to figure out what we're doing. But I imagine some problems are going to be like kind of long-tailed. They're going to be at different places. So I think for simplicity's sake, just having all of us as collaborators in this kind of mono repo where we can freely commit in a mono repo style, that would be my vote. I'm not sure what other people think.
I agree with you, Matt. I just want to quickly, before anybody else, for today, just want to have a almost like a toy, a simple little thing to pick up for tomorrow. And when we can leave the board for more serious stuff, the long term, of course, but just kind of, funnel some thinking into what are we going to do tomorrow? Because we don't want to show up tomorrow like, what are we doing now? And then the session is just like flailing. That was the only intention for today. If we can kind of swarm in and kind of narrow down to, okay, suppose we vote for Jonas Python backend. Let's jump in tomorrow. We'll talk about what's possible ways to do it, implementation. But then let's commit to something today, and then tomorrow we'll put it in the ongoing column. We see how far we get tomorrow, mobbing and kicking around, and then we maybe next week do a review. This is just a Mickey Mouse toy exercise for us to see how we gel as a team. What are the strengths and weaknesses? Hypothetical.
Alex, can we talk a little bit more about how you envision tomorrow going? Another thought I had was, I think everyone in here works in a very different way in terms of their tech stack, right? So, I am 100% agentic, so I'm working in, give me a requirement, give me a problem to solve, and I kind of run it through my system. And so there's not a whole lot of, I think, traditional mob programming or pair programming in that way. So I didn't know how you envisioned, which by the way, I think is a great idea. Like getting together and building something together, I think is absolutely the right move. I just wonder if we're going to run into challenges where some people are more or less agentic, some people can move at different paces and speeds. And how did you envision tomorrow kind of going, even for like a Mickey Mouse task?
Great question. Thank you, Matt. I hope, and I hope I'm not going to disappoint some people. For the purposes of tomorrow's exercise, I'm hoping we go low tech. We forget that agentic and all this like super duper rocket science, and we just go like roll up our sleeves and just go like before AI. Hopefully, I mean, I'm not saying that why not use AI if you feel like it, but let's do the pedestrian approach, just because that way we'll feel each other. We're like, okay. And as you know, I don't know how many people here have done mobbing and teaming in real life. If you know how the cadence goes, we can talk about that as well. But for tomorrow, I'm hoping just old school. Of course, no reason to not ask Claude, like, okay, just write me this code. Nothing wrong with that, right? But not just go like full-blown agents and the elves and because then I don't know how to do it, to be honest with you. I've never done it in my life. All my
No,
teaming
I like it.
old school,
Yeah.
low rent, low tech, manual pedestrian.
There's something to be said for that approach, Alex. I mean, I have not done. I just have never been on a team that did the mob programming thing, but from like a collaboration standpoint and just figuring out problems the old school way, as many of us have done for years or decades, I think that's great. So yeah, just clarifying. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, usually what happens, and Budi can talk much more, of course, much more than me. But my individual observations is people start arguing about some best practices, and I'm always like, look, guys, stop talking and let's just you have an idea, just go and make a change in the code, and we'll see what happens. So we are arguing by making the change in the code, not by talking theory. Oh, I read this article and Uncle Bob said this. No, just make a change and see how it feels for the size. It really helps if we're doing TDD, because then tests are not gonna, tests are gonna tell us what's going on. Mutation testing is fantastic for mob, but we can see how it goes tomorrow. I mean, don't hold your breath. Maybe it will be just a train wreck. I don't know, right? But it's worth trying. I mean, here we are all like brave explorers. We should not be shying away from trying new things. So with that said, are we okay with proceeding with trying to nail what are we going to just tackle tomorrow, just as a really low tech, low key exercise?
So one way to approach that is just to what do we sense quickly the simplest thing on this board, and then we tackle that. So this gets you started. So I do want to share a couple things real quickly. Alex is expressing an intent, and when we work with other people, we work in a group. What we often will want to do is argue about or talk about what we think is better or what we should do instead. And what I'd like to say about intent is what we learned with, when all my initial working with teams was that if somebody expresses an intent they want to try, if there isn't a really blatant reason not to do it right now, we run with that intent. And Alex expressed an intent that we just get started with something and start learning how to work together. And that's the underlying intent here. And whatever mechanisms we use, that's fine. The issue with software development almost never is coding the solution that we're trying to work on. That's never been the blocking point. But what's usually ended up being the problem is we code a lot of stuff that that doesn't match what the expectations were or doesn't match what somebody was hoping we would be doing. When we work as a group, we quickly expose what we miscommunicated. That's the whole point. So if we can quickly expose what we miscommunicated, then we can easily steer towards the solution that we think we need to have and what we learn from that going along the way. So that's my 2 cents right now. This is a good experiment to do. Really worthwhile in my opinion. And let's see how so we need to change the way we think and work with other people if we're going to work well with others. Because normally what happens, like William Isaac's book, he quotes somebody as saying, we're not listening to each other, we're reloading. And I think I've already mentioned that several times here, but that's kind of the thing. It's where we want to work on the center and not take sides. So so whatever we're going to do, I say Alex has got an intent. I'm surprised, actually encouraged to hear you talking about this. And I've been working a lot with people doing AI using a team approach, a mob programming approach. And rather than thinking about how are we going to just get what we need to do and leave that alone so that we can go do our work, so we don't need to work with other people, we learn how to actually interact with other people in real time. And AI gives us a much more rapid potential, anyways, for a more rapid round tripping on our intent. So what do we think we wanted? Oh, that's not exactly what I wanted. We get to that much quicker. So that's sort of a big part of what hopefully we'll see in working this way. But we are just getting started. Let's see how this grows.
Yeah, thanks, Woody. I'm very excited to try this because in the olden days, what usually trips people up is mob programming is actually what I call keyboardless programming.
Yeah.
And that's something that people are not used to. Because from your brain, from your idea, things flow into your hands, into the keyboard. And that's how we are all used to. But in mob programming, that's not how it works. And so it trips people up, and it takes a while to readjust. However, with the new crop of software development, we are now conditioned to do that because we are doing keyboardless programming in the sense that we are telling AI what to do, and it goes and does it. So I think it's going to be much easier for us here. We just jump in, the water is fine, and start swimming.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting much friction. So that's why I'm so exclusive. Yeah, go ahead.
I've never heard it put that way, but it's exactly right. The idea of keyboardless software development. The idea is we use a keyboard because somebody found that it was better to use textual input to write programs, and what we had at the time was keyboards. That we didn't change off of that until hopefully we're getting there now for 50 or plus years, 60 years, whatever. Is really that we got stuck. So this is quite good. I like what you're saying here, keyboard, because that's the whole point. A person can sit down who does not know how to write code with someone who does know how to write code, and they're both programming together. And of course, programming isn't really the real word. We're developing together. We're developing software. It may entail programming, it may not. So there we go. I think I've said more than enough. I think we're ready to make a choice on something to do tomorrow and move on.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be anything to write home about, but it's just a fun exercise for us to get together and spend a couple of hours kicking around. Nothing needs to come out of it, but I'm pretty sure. And again, let's, as Woody said, whatever feels the simplest to you guys here, let's pick that and move into options. By the way, Yona made a comment here. He tried to upload something to the ACG repo, but the uploads were disabled, something to play with. So do you think, Yona, that's worse? But it should be just a configuration. I don't know.
I didn't try to upload anything.
Oh, Jake, sorry. Oh, Jake said it. Sorry, Yona. Yeah, anyway.
Alex, I just wanted to weigh in real quick and say if you want to make me an admin of the repo, I can help get people on there, configured, spun up. That's something I'm happy to take on if you'd like.
Oh, of course, we'll do that offline. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you. That will help a lot. Okay, so we're kind of stuck here in a loop. We're undecided on this Python backend, from what I can understand. Build clock to visualize member time availability. That's a nice idea, Thomas. The custom ACG meeting chat site to augment Discord Google Meets. That's also interesting, Thomas. Auto refresh. Okay. Guidelines for agentic software crafting. Tool skill harness. Okay, that's great. Garrick, awesome. So the guidelines, mob program is mostly about executing code. The guidelines will be more about brainstorming and crafting a document. Is that what you had in mind, Garrick?
So mob programming is really about teamwork.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we're making code or what we're doing. If what we want to start with is some code, that's great. But you can use these same basic ideas for almost anything.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, because I'm just used to writing code. Research using GitHub issues as a dynamic database can be edited by user without auth tokens from a GitHub page client, Thomas. Vote approve ACG template member git and create map of members and their GitHub. Okay, one other thing I forgot to mention I don't want to add to the pile, but Thomas had a good idea a few moons ago about building a voting app for our rituals. We have about 10 rituals on our site. and we want to vote. Would that be something like simple, easy peasy or not? I'll throw it in as a problem. What's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just think that like many of the things on that list are secondary to us being able to have a like an Airtable, which is basically what we're trying to make GitHub into, where we can all work together. So if we can set that up and Matt can help get the 2 or 3 people that maybe aren't in there yet. Like I approved, I had a notification that Eric, his name on GitHub is Disco Posse. I don't even know who that is. He's some guy who was in the guild, must have signed the thing and submitted a paper, and everybody didn't even know was in there. No one even saw it until I saw it maybe, I think it was 10 days after he had written it. So I looked at the paper and I sent it in. I have no idea where that went. But like these are the kind of things that if we're not on that same table, we can't do anything else. I feel like that's really a foundational layer. I noticed that there's 6 votes on Jonah's thing. So all of the other projects, whether we're voting on we're creating a voting machine and all of that, we have to figure out how we can put that voting machine in the GitHub, right? And how we're all going to be able to see the results and all of that. So I think whatever we do tomorrow, it's maybe we're all on that same table and we've all logged in and we all know how to do this in GitHub. But like I said, obviously, I don't know why I got that notification and no one even noticed it. And I don't know who that Eric guy is. Does anyone know who that is?
Yeah, I know Eric is my buddy. Yeah, Eric is my buddy. We work together, but I never received any notification.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. This is why if we don't have that basic level, then we've got these members out there like Eric who is writing this nice paper and everybody just completely ignores it. And if he doesn't come to the meeting, you're the only person who even knows about him. So you see what I'm saying? So like, and I read the paper. I don't even know where the paper went. I don't know if you saw the paper. I can tell you. Yeah.
Well, did you put that on the board, Kelly?
I mean, it's all within Jonas. I voted for Jonas because that's the whole point. We all need to be able to log into Git, and that is so. It's not a separate issue. I don't think it's within that. We all need to figure out how we can operate from that Airtable. Yeah.
All right. So, what options do we have for that other than the 3 that are already there?
You mean on the
on Jona's login for guild members? We have 3 options. Do we need more?
Oh.
So
no, it's GitHub. It's just GitHub. I'm not sure what you're saying. So like when I click on that, then I see the options, WordPress, Python backend, and GitHub pages, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow, well, I don't know because I think that I'm not the expert on the best way to approach GitHub. Like I said, there's a lot of tips and tricks, and I think Thomas has probably been down rabbit holes that none of us are even aware of. So,
okay,
yeah, I think GitHub is really the focus, and then from there, if we have to build other things, but first we find out what we can and can't do, so everybody understands what is possible, how to make it work on GitHub, and then that when someone writes a paper, that we all are reading it and we're all reviewing it. It's a simple thing, but you didn't get that notification. I don't know why you didn't. And I got it. It's weird, right? So those are some basics that we just have to figure out, I think, and that's anyway, sorry.
Okay, now is the time. Let's just do this as an exercise. So we have a 3rd column possible. So let's say we chose GitHub pages. Now, when we are adding what possible experiments are, we need to pick from the list here. See that at the bottom is option, and it gives us WordPress, Python backend, or GitHub pages. So let's pick GitHub pages, and then add the experiment. What are we going to be experimenting tomorrow with GitHub pages to enable the functionality you're talking about? Does anyone have any idea? And there could be more than one experiment, of course. Thomas? Not to put, sorry, to put you on the spot, but Kelly just kind of called you out. All right, so we have GitHub pages, and then
Update the page.
Sorry,
Refresh the page.
refresh. But how do we address this thing that Kelly was talking about when somebody submits a paper and it just goes in limbo and nobody even gets notified? That's a valid concern. I mean, Eric is probably pissed off. He thinks I'm ignoring him, but I never even got notified.
Yeah, we can set up like the guild blockchain currency, however it works, just to get like, I don't know, people log in with their GPUs or computers. You send the processing to them to process it. Things get put in a mutable ledger and you can at least store it that way. But when you have that going, you at least have currency moving and you can award people things for like reading and grading a white paper.
Do you mind adding an option?
Yep.
To or a possible experiment as an option for GitHub pages, and if somebody else has ideas, please add the possible experiments, and then we can vote on possible experiments, and hopefully we have a committed one for tomorrow. We move in and we start digging around.
I'm on my phone right now, so it's really hard for me to go in and use this app while I'm trying to listen to the meeting and do that. But what I'm suggesting, if maybe it seems like it's not being added or if it's not in there, is a very basic, let's make sure that we can, anybody submit something that everybody who's in there gets a notification. Like we're talking about basics, right? So before we start going into blockchain and how people get coins for reviewing, I love you, Thomas, but like, I think we maybe, so how we work with your knowledge base, Thomas, is that we, I just posted in there. First, we have to figure out how the telephone works, and then we can build the whole entire internet. So right now, we don't know how the telephone works. You don't know why you didn't get that notification. I don't know why I did. And so we just, I think, need to go, basically, let's learn how to use GitHub. Then maybe tomorrow we can have people submit things and other people will see how that process works, that they even got aware that that was submitted. What happens when they approve it? How does it get posted? Is there still a review process? Just very basic things like that, because then once we do start actually creating things like, we can use the popcorn that's now, which is wonderful. I like the flow of it, but it can't be a separate app. It has to be something that's connected. So how do we connect that? So some basic communication layer. That's so maybe my problem is we do not understand how to even communicate in GitHub, or receive communications, send communications, which is not just papers, but it's also like if I comment on something and then I have a question about something, does anybody else see that? Because they'd have to have that same notification on that same right, that same, what is it when someone submits a paper? It's not really like you're merging a fork or something. Like these are some very basic things that probably, people may know, but I think functionally the telephone is the main foundation. So I don't know how you create that, but to me, it's all under that same, make sure everybody can log in, make sure everybody knows how to work from
okay, I mean,
yeah.
we don't have to, like Jonas said, we don't have to discuss an implementation now. Just what are we gonna prepare for tomorrow? If you refresh your page, Kelly, I added something I call very basic notification mechanism when articles get submitted. So that's one possibility that we can start kicking around tomorrow. Thomas said P2P, WebRTC, WebTorrent, chat. Okay, we can maybe choose that one. Or is there any other possible experiment that you guys feel we can consider?
Telephone.
Okay. That's it. Two of them. I'll vote. I'll vote. I'll cast my vote now. You guys want to cast your votes? Make sure everybody reloaded their page.
Wait, I think I lost a little track. Like where are we voting? I see we have, didn't cast a vote even on options yet. We have already possible things.
Yeah, the GitHub pages are, oh, sorry. So you just click on the thumbs up for problems, options, and possible experiments. We have 2 thumbs up for GitHub pages in the options.
Because I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm open for that, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. But I'd be willing to try it out and to see, but I'm not sure, like, are we exploring already, like in advance? What's the possibility? I lost track. Help me, please.
Okay, so we have voted for a login for guild members with GitHub OAuth.
Yes,
and
yes.
So that has 6 votes. Then
Yes.
moving to the option, which we chose that one, we added some options: Python backend, WordPress, GitHub
Yes.
pages. We voted on GitHub pages. There's 2 votes, 0 for WordPress, 0 for Python backend. I mean, if you want to cast your vote, you can do it now maybe. And then based on that, since the GitHub pages are on top of that column, now we move into possible experiments, and we have 2 possible experiments sitting here in this column if you refresh. And then we are now waiting either for more possible experiments, or we vote on these 2, and then the one that's on top, we move into committed, which then means we will tomorrow start looking into it as a team. We don't have to decide on.
I don't understand the possible column now. What's
Sorry?
we have a column that says possible.
Third column, third. So you have
The third column is possible, yes.
possible experiments. Yeah. What experiments are possible given that we want to work with GitHub pages to try and implement what Kelly was talking about and you?
Oh, this is about the experiments. Yeah, okay.
Experiments, yeah. So throw in any ideas, doesn't matter what it is, any flights of fancy. Then we as team here, we vote, and whatever bubbles up to the top, we move into committed. And then we all go home. And then see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm surprised about the GitHub pages thing. I haven't thought about it. I need to give it more thought, honestly.
Yeah, it's nothing serious. We will just be fooling around tomorrow. It's not something we are trying to really solve, but just as Woody said, just to get to know each other, how we work together.
I mean, for a first iteration, it's great because we can always expand to more complex hosting.
Yeah, or we can just chuck it. We can just say, okay, this was a fun thing, and we just destroy it and go back to the board and focus on serious.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think at this point, I would say what we're focusing on is not what is the specific thing we are going to do, but that we are going to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's in the doing of it that we're going to start sharing ideas about why we think there's something else we could be doing instead. But the point is, this is called the ambition to action from the Beyond Budgeting people. We can talk and talk and talk. Let's take action. Action, my saying is, it's in the doing of the work that we discover the work that we must do. It's not till we start doing something that we could talk about something for minutes, hours, days, but we really won't learn anything till we start trying. And a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, but then we're going to do the wrong things. Well, we can discover it's the wrong thing by trying it. And one of our guidelines that we used, in our original mob programming teams was we try every single idea. And then they fade away when people start going, oh, wait, I see. My idea isn't that worth trying. I'm going to withdraw it. That's okay. We just don't want to be guilty of groupthink and things like that, where we're just going along with the crowd, but we want to support the intent of each individual. So if somebody says, this is what I'd like to try, we can jump on that. Whether we agree with it or not, we can jump on with join up with doing it and just do it. And the learning that we get from that will really pay off. In the long run, it's about the learning, and the bigger idea is the steering. Once we get good, better and better at this, I would say get really good at it. It doesn't mean that we need to get along. It just means that we have a mechanism where we can quickly make minor decisions, which this one is a minor decision, implement it and get the learning from it. That's the key. That allows us to steer. So these are just my opinions. I'm not telling us what to do. It's just the way I look at it. So I think we're ready to choose our commitment.
So Woody, thank you very much. I would not say these are just your opinions, because I think they're founded on already like 30 years of practice in extreme programming.
Well, okay, yeah, but I would say it's my opinions as opposed to my advice.
Okay.
Right? I'm not telling us what we should do. I'm just saying this is the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if others agree with me, great. And if others don't, that's okay too. Not everybody's the same. And again, every team is an individual thing. We have an individual team here. How are we going to proceed? That's what the popcorn's giving us a step to do. So today we're learning about, well, how are we going to use this? And my argument almost always is less talk, more action, But that's just, again, my approach.
Yeah, but in general, a lot of teams have discovered that front loading and, upfront, the big plan and the big design tends to, cause problems because we think we can, we have the crystal ball, we can see into the future. But then I think we talked last time about VUCA reality that's volatile and uncertain. So surprises are possible, and almost guarantee that whatever we fancied, I know exactly what's going to happen. And then you start working like Woody said in his car, actually it's a bit different. But now we have to be prepared to be interrupted and, like you said, Woody, steer instead of just stubbornly like, no, this is my roadmap for 5 years. I don't care what happens. I'm charging ahead. All right. So I think when I refresh this, I think we have 5 votes for very basic notification mechanism. So I'm going to push this right arrow and it should move to the committed. So if you reload, you will see it's now sitting in the committed, which means unless somebody has some severe objections, this is what we're going to look into tomorrow.
Excellent.
And thank you very much, everyone. I think that part of the exercise is done. Now we are back to our regular. Kelly, you are next. Unmute, please. Kelly, you're on mute.
I don't know if she knew she had her hand up.
Okay. Ludger, did you?
I just wanted to ask Kelly how I can connect with her the best regarding my skeptical officer role regarding the triad machine. Kelly, are you with us?
I am in a place right now where I can't talk, but I'll get back to you on that. Like, maybe I can, maybe we need to just talk directly too. We should open up communication. What's the best way to do that between me and you?
Okay.
Oh, I just now realized we have a new member, Kaylee, Matt's daughter. So very happy to have you in our guild, Kaylee. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or.
Yes, hello. Yeah. Yes, very excited to be here. Yeah, Dad, my dad, Matt Birch, he told me about the guild, and I have really been getting into using AI just as a tool. I do full stack development. And yeah, I just really would love to, meet people who are also finding ways to use it better and ethically. And so, yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kelly. Welcome. I hope you will be able to join us tomorrow for the session. We just chose, I don't know, I didn't notice when you joined if you were witnessing our, we went through some labor here. I was acting as a midwife.
No, it was good. I liked the application that you built, Alex.
Thank you.
But
sometimes I bill myself as a software delivery midwife, and
yeah.
Everybody recoils and nobody wants to hire me, but that's basically what I do. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic. I know that. But in general, Kaylee, we are, just to reiterate, and probably your dad told you, and your dad is championing what is close to my heart, which is the ethical dimension of this. Technical excellence. Yeah, we have some amazing brain power here to blow you away. But the ethical side is what Matt and I talk a lot about, and offline and here. And we're hoping to be able to enable regular people who are easily swindled, easily swayed, to have some kind of a shield, or I don't know how to describe it, so that you get protected from the nasty attempts at exploiting and taking advantage of people who are not well informed, who are sadly being shoved to the margins. Matt knows all about it. I love how he talks about that. It's just like very important to me. The most important, basically number one. Then everything else follows. But also we have, I don't know if you met Kelly here, who's very active, very productive. So we are working real hard on many things. But now today we wanted to kind of narrow the scope and just like pick one little Mickey Mouse thing. Let's jump in tomorrow, see how it works. And hopefully from that, we will learn how to build real powerful things. Tomorrow is going to be just toy. Okay, do we have anything else? Maybe I can talk a little bit. I think, did Woody leave? I didn't.
Yeah, he said bye.
Okay.
Okay, y'all were introducing.
Okay, so just a prep for tomorrow, how I envision it. Sadly, Woody is not here to either corroborate or to tell me, Alex, you're just blowing hot air. But the mob programming is based on what Woody mentioned, is bias to action. So we're not going to be deliberating things. We're going to be acting. Again, if there is a disagreement, invite it. Phenomenal. I like your disagreement, but just disagree in going and making change to the code and run it. And let's see how your disagreement, is it improving things or not? So how it works, for those of you who haven't tried it, is we usually pick the navigator and the driver. So the navigator this is why it's called keyboardless programming, because the navigator is actually the programmer, the person who decides what needs to be done, and the driver is just hands implementing that idea. So it's almost like on a road trip. You have a navigator holding the map and the driver driving, and the navigator says turn left, or park here, or exit over there. The driver is not making, so in a mob programming session, the driver is not allowed to make decisions on how to design things and what to do. He just follows the instructions. Now, where the actual magic sauce happens is this is on rotation. And so depending on how we feel, like I found the sweet spot is around 5 to 10 minutes. On every 5 or 10 minutes, the timer rings, and then the driver becomes the navigator becomes the driver. And then when their time is up, then other pair moving from the mob. So we go like a round robin or musical chairs. So everybody will get a chance to navigate, everybody will get a chance to drive. Is that okay with people? Jake, why don't you want to be a driver? We can give you automatic. You don't have to shift gears.
Oh, no, I prefer manual, but that's the problem. My fingers don't move very well. I do everything by voice, man. I'm about the slowest typer. I used to be pretty good, but trust me, you don't want me to be the driver. I might take us off the cliff.
Well, maybe there is maybe you can just talk. You don't have to type. Maybe a voice.
If I could just, I'll but
Yeah,
then
set it
again, I mean, listen to my voice. You think I have much better luck with voice to text? No, not really. It gets that. But I can holler
You can
from the
try.
back. I can be that backseat driver.
Okay, or
No, I'm kidding. You just
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want me to type because I'm not very fast, especially if everybody's telling me what to do. I'll be like, shit, what did you say?
Yeah, but you know, one thing I'm noticing when
Plus, I
I'm
don't have a computer, Alex. I do
okay,
everything on
in your
iPad.
head, do
In my
everything.
head, on iPad, on iOS. But I don't have a laptop or a desktop.
Okay, then
It's,
you'll be the navigator for a while, right?
yeah, that until I get a computer, until I get a keyboard.
Okay. Or
Sorry.
you can stay in the peanut gallery.
Hey, I like cashews though, but they're poisonous. Damn it.
Poisonous.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you're telling me.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things. If you eat a whole lot of them, they can actually throw your blood pH way off and throw you into. Even if you're not allergic to them, it can poison your bloodstream. But you got to eat a lot of you got to eat a lot of cashews.
It's like almonds, like almonds could be poisonous. Okay.
Yeah, all tree nuts are poisonous to a certain degree.
Peanut gallery, but you can throw rotten tomatoes at us from the peanut gallery. It doesn't have to be peanuts.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. Hell,
why not?
I don't deserve that.
If we suck, then we deserve it.
Well,
okay, so
you know,
yeah,
but if y'all suck, then I suck because I want to be. I'm part of the team, so fuck. I'll just throw tomatoes at myself.
Well, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
That ain't me.
Yeah. So don't worry. There are smart people here. So one thing I want to add is the rest of the mob, when there's a navigator and driver, the rest of the mob is free to throw in suggestions. And oftentimes I'm noticing these suggestions are about some keyboard shortcuts or some tips and tricks and techniques. This is very welcome and very powerful because we all know some arcane trick that nobody's ever heard and it works. So we will learn just how to jockey this machinery, right? I always learn something when I'm sitting in the mob and some dude comes and says, "Oh, didn't you know you can do this and that?" And bam, something works, and we're all like, "Yeah, thank you very much." So it's really about sharing the skills, right? Brotherhood, sisterhood, camaraderie. We're in it together and we have each other's backs. That's the vibe we're hoping to establish, right? And then once we have that, then we can really sky's the limit. But the rotation helps a lot. You know, it really sucks. It's also in pair programming. If it's not promiscuous, then one person overbearing just takes over and it's like, okay, I'm just sitting here. Like, might as well play video games. So see how it go. I mean, see how it goes tomorrow. Maybe it will be a train wreck. I don't know, but usually it's fun. Driver, passenger. Okay.
I think it'd be a hell of a learning opportunity, just about each other and ourselves. And I know I'll be paying attention like some bitch.
Okay, Kelly's already a driver. Yeah, already driving. And then some people get shoved into the boot of the car, right? If it's not, they misbehave. And also another thing I want to add, it's perfectly okay for people to leave the session and rejoin. Because sometimes when people feel like, oh, I'm cooped here. No, you want to go and do something else, be my guest. Just go out. Don't even have to announce that you're leaving. Come back quietly and join the musical chairs. So it's completely democratic, completely open.
Unless you're driving or navigating, be at least polite enough to.
Yeah, in the middle of it. Yeah. But once you're of course. But once you are done.
Sorry, my internet was in and out, but now I'm in a good spot. Sorry about that.
Great. Yeah, so we'll see how far we get tomorrow. And then I'm hoping the next iteration with Woody on our side, we'll learn how to do agentic, even if it's possible, agentic mob program. Because you said, Matt, it's hard to envision how will that work. because here, in the classical mob programming, if we're using TDD, then we are just writing micro tests, and you write micro tests, you make it pass, you make another one, then maybe you run mutation testing, you see some surviving mutants, you ask the team to kill them, and on we go, and we grow the app, right? How that working agentically, I don't know. Maybe somebody can teach me. Jake?
Yeah, just a quick question, Alex. If I could pick your brain for a second, or pick anybody's brain, I mean, I have tests and things. I love running tests. I love being proved wrong. But what is? Can you describe to me, just so I can be on the same page, when you refer to an experiment and refer to a test? Is the test strictly on the code and the experiment is on the thesis behind the code, or what's the difference between the? Because to me, when you test something, it could be an experiment also. If you're like, when you say an experiment, like I ran scaling experiments on some of my stuff to make sure that it would scale up high. That's what I call it, an experiment. But then I tested the code that confirmed the experiment. Is that, am I on the right train of thought there, or am I got it messed up?
No, I mean, as Woody said, I really kind of kept it narrow because I'm only familiar with actually building software. But as Woody said, it's like any team activity. It doesn't have to be coding or running code.
Oh no, I was just trying to pick your head about the difference of that word, so I know that I'm on the right page when you're talking about making an experiment. Like how on the page we voted on earlier, you said we had column 3 had experiments. What's the difference? What is an experiment? What is an experiment that you're talking about there compared to what, like a test file, like what you're talking about in TDD, a test like that? If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely makes sense. And I apologize, I made a mistake. Let me share my screen, because I'm famous for forgetting things. So you see, the one we committed. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing it up. The very basic notification is open, but we didn't put down description. We didn't put down what action. We didn't put down the duration. And we didn't put down the expected outcome. I like expected outcomes, no one complains. But I think we need to elaborate on that. So I'll leave it to whoever. Maybe Kelly, you can fill it in. What action do we expect to do tomorrow? Just tentative, doesn't have to be. The duration, of course, will be 2 hours. And then what are we expecting to see from this experiment? What would be the expected outcome? Those are the things.
I think the expected outcome that I would like, and this is just up to everyone, is for us all to, at least at the end of the day, understand what we can and cannot do with our current GitHub ACG repo. I mean, our GitHub, the whole entire thing, what we can all do and how we are all able to do it.
Right.
We're all part of the guild.
Yeah.
How do we work inside that and then create stuff? So then if we can literally just solve that, because there's so much confusion around that, I will be thrilled. And then from there, we can, if we have more time, we can tackle all the other things that Thomas is suggesting and all this other stuff. But I don't know how you phrase that.
Okay, so the description, I put the expected outcome, and the action is mess around. Okay, I'll save that. And then if you reload and you click on edit, you will see, and then you can add description. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you very much, Jake. This is really useful. I totally forgot.
Thanks for taking the time to explain it.
Oh, I mean, I apologize for this. I was too entangled in thinking how to explain it, but then I messed up. Okay, so
good. You're doing great.
Excellent. So basically, as we keep moving, these things are very useful if we can somehow slice them into small batches. That will give us more frequent feedback. The big batch, everybody wants to have a big batch because it's so important and all that. But then sometimes you wait weeks for the feedback, and then once you get the feedback, you go, oh man, and we wasted 3 weeks on this, right? So the trick of the trade is being able to slice it instead of squeezing it. Because we have tendency to squeeze things in, like, oh, I can shove it in here. And while I'm under the hood, I might as well do this and that and bells and whistles. And then we create this kind of a bloat, and then it's very hard to test. It's very hard to understand what's going on. Yeah, he's doing something, but is he really doing what we want? These are the rookie mistakes that I find, that I grew up doing all of these mistakes over and over and over. And little by little, you learn, like, okay, let's be more modest. Let's be less arrogant. Let's be less self-confident. And now I'm very gingerly walking around when I'm doing things. But, ego, it's also an inflated ego, inflamed ego, right? Just like a macho programmer can do everything. Thomas said he can build me anything, which he can, right?
Mhm.
All right. So anything else to talk about today?
What you got on the LP player behind you?
For now, it's sitting. What was the last thing I was listening to? I found on the street.
No, wow.
On the streets, unwrapped.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Holy hell. That's a hell of a collection. Is that his?
2 LPs, Chinese.
Yeah, I see that.
Chinese. This is the Bach French suite.
That's
never in my life have I listened to Chinese LPs. This is like gunfire. This is so well pressed. The sound is like, you wouldn't believe, just blows your mind. This Chinese, I don't know what.
When's the press date? Does it have it on there, or
it has it in Chinese?
I
have no idea.
I can't help.
This is amazing. One thing, the problem with vinyl is different. You can have a same album in different pressing. One would sound like full of energy. The other one is completely like limp, no energy, no life.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on what machinery they're using. Are they following the quality, inspection? And usually you think, oh, Chinese are kind of making. No, this is insane. Some of the best pressings I have in my collection are French, German.
I believe it.
These people, they pay attention, and they are really, and if something is off, they just throw it out.
Well, that, and they appreciate, like you say, they're on it. They appreciate the high quality. Whereas in this world, in the world that in America and shit, everything's about that almighty penny. And I mean, we're going to cut, a lot of it nowadays is because they don't, I mean, if you look at an old school record and a new one, it's almost a third of the difference thickness wise. There's no plastic there to press. Yeah, and so you're getting the echo of the thin ass plastic, or vinyl. So, it's got to take pride in your work. That's the number one thing. And that's what you got there. That's what you got in France and Germany. And, people that take pride, places that still, worried more about trying to make other people happy and keep a reputation worth a damn other than just chase that penny.
Yeah. And Japanese also. Japanese.
Oh, yeah. Japanese had some of the best, at least CDs, bootleg CDs and things like that, because great. But,
So, it's a difference between explosive growth and scale versus just thriving. You can thrive without having a mass production. You can have a cottage industry, perfect, very good stuff, and you're thriving. Your life is good.
Come here.
I'd argue you're better off thriving as a smaller boutique than you are, because when you scales exponentially like that, you're compressing quality, you're compressing price all the way down, and you're not actually you're relying on market capture to retain customers. You're trying to flood everybody out so that people are forced. You're not actually making brand loyalty. You're just forcing people, to use you because there's nothing else. That's what all the consolidation. I mean, hell, we used to have mom and pop grocery stores on every corner. Now you got like probably 7 giant grocery stores in the entire nation. So it's like, all right, well, none of this food's going to be any good. Guess I'll go start gardening.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So here we are craftspeople, which to me means we appreciate quality, not cutting corners.
When you cut corners, all you're doing is cheating yourself.
Yeah.
Do the work, do it and do it honestly and admit when you're wrong and, be happy when you're wrong. It means you're getting better. Like you say, got to get away with that. Got to get away from that ego, man. It'll kill you.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
That's the thing. You're one of the rare people who are openly saying, I'm glad to be wrong. But most of us are like, no, I can't be wrong.
You've been as wrong as when you've been as wrong as many times as me, you start looking forward to, hey, I got it right that time. Shit, son of a bitch, let's throw a party, drink a beer. You got a growler for me there, Jonah?
If you're old enough, being right is mostly something that you were afraid of and nothing you were hoping for. So you're happy when you're wrong. I'm always happy when I'm wrong. I never want to be like, oh yeah, I told you so. It's not something that makes me happy in any way. Used to. I used to be, but not anymore.
Way I look at it is if you being wrong is part of learning, like Thomas said earlier. If you're scared of being wrong, you're scared to learn or scared to succeed. But the other part of that is if you quit learning, if you quit being wrong, because nobody's going to know everything off the bat. So you're basically saying you're going to quit learning, which if you quit learning, you might as well be, for all intents and purposes, be dead. Because you're not evolving anymore. You're not a part of anything. You're just stuck. You're literally, done. What?
You ever hear the saying that the best teachers always remain students?
Oh, well, yeah, I have heard that, but I haven't thought of it in a long time. It's true.
Yeah, that's just basically it, right? It's just like, because if you're a teacher, then you understand how you really always need to be able to, even learning from your students, because then you can become a better teacher. If you close that off, you can't even really improve as a teacher, let alone learn things that you don't know. But yeah, failure, what we were talking about, Alex, the other day, where failure is sort of we're looking for failure, because when you fail, you learn your blind spots. When you succeed, you don't, or when things go well, you don't learn where you're missing things or what well, I think this was
interesting thing to keep in mind. Yeah, well, just real quick, something to keep in mind that it kind of gets you thinking a little bit is, as soon as you think you learned something, it's changed already from the time you learned it. And you're never actually going to remember it 100% because you're just going to remember the memory of learning it. And so if you don't continuously remember it or learn it and be open to changes, because everything's fluid, then you're just, if you're stuck in your ways and I know this is right. Well, I bet you an experiment out there might prove you wrong, because humans drift just as bad as AI. That's the whole thing.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, when Ludger asked me that earlier, I couldn't hear and I was in a place. Ludger, what is the best way for you and I to, do you want me to email you, or, because I don't think you're on our Discord.
Yes, you can email me.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, I recently learned, and maybe this is not true, but you know how there's this feng shui way of arranging your environment and to be in your optimal state. And then somebody told me that this was all developed by the culture. I think it's Chinese, and it works, right? But it was developed at a time when the magnetic axis was different, but now it changed. So all of a sudden, this textbook is not necessarily gonna give you the same results as before. So now it has to be refactored.
We need that damn watch, Thomas. Or not
Yeah.
the watch. We need the damn smart compass.
Yeah.
You know, for our feng shui, man. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And
did make it? Well, fuck. I need
Yeah.
one. Where'd I buy it?
Yeah. So, and to Kelly's point, I read one anecdote where there was this Zen master who was presiding in a Zen monastery, and he was the teacher. And they allot him this kind of teacher's, I don't know how to call it. It's not throne, it's a chair, right? When you sit there and you teach. And one day the guy just got up and sat down with students and said, okay, now you guys, somebody be the teacher, I'm the student. Like completely abdicate, like, okay, I'm not the teacher anymore.
Well, they say that the best way to learn something is to be forced into a situation that makes you think. You know, it's when people fall victim to overthinking and worrying about how they're going to be perceived by the outside world that they freeze instead of just going with what their intuition tells them. If they just do that, then no matter what, at least you're speaking genuinely and people will feed off of that energy and they will respond, where you're going to learn something either way. They're going to help you learn a lot easier, especially if you're coming at it pragmatically and trying your best to understand, and that gets a conversation going between people. But until you allow yourself to be uneasy or to be corrected, then you're not inviting people to help.
Yeah.
You got to open yourself up to be allowed to learn before anybody can teach you anything. It goes back to the horse and water drinking. You know, you can't if you're not going to be open to it, then nobody can help you. And so just being thrown into the fire, you know, sometimes it does wonders for people.
Yeah, but you see, this guy, he wasn't forced. He just forced himself to abdicate.
Well, he was
Yeah,
a smart man,
yeah.
I think.
Yep. Okay, so Kaylee, so what brought you to AI? Can you tell us? I'm curious.
Yeah, so at my last company, I was there for a couple years, and I ended up we didn't have a lot of members on our team, and so we had so much work and just not a lot of people to do it. And so once AI started coming out, and I think I tried, like, Cursor was the first AI like IDE I tried, and I was like, man, this is really speeding up work production. And then I got on Claude, and I ended up kind of getting my team on it, and we were able to just tackle so many more tickets and things. Like, we had so many wish item lists, and we were suddenly able to, like, just tackle all of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've just been, after that, I think I've seen what an amazing tool it is, and now it really has changed how I do development. Like, I just find myself, like, I mostly am just reviewing code at this point. But yeah, I think really the big question is, we know it's going to completely change. It's going to change how everybody does development work. And so I think I'm just, like, trying to find out, like, what does this mean now for us, for our career? And so this is the first AI guild I've ever been a part of, but I'm excited. I feel like I want to be a part of a group that, like, talks about this, and because it's here and it's not going anywhere. So
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'm very. I don't know if you can maybe bring over some of your peers.
Yeah,
I'm very curious how younger generation, because I was once younger generation, and I remember the difference between my parents' things and our things, and things were different, and they could not, because back in the day when the networking, I grew up in the world where there was no networks. There was just telephone and radio, TV, and all of a sudden we move into this internet era. And I remember my parents, it took them a while to even wrap their head around this idea that things are buzzing around the world and it's all in real time. And so now I feel it's kind of similar to maybe how your generation may experience this differently than me, and understand that, but I have a hunch that there's a different flavor to it, or how you're going to approach it is going to be different, which I think is more appropriate than how I would approach it, right? So I'm very curious to learn about your peers, how you experience it, how you take it on, because right now, I'll be honest, I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. It's an overload for me.
Yeah.
My brain,
It's a lot. It's a lot. And honestly, even for me, it's so much, I feel good because I kind of got into development a little bit before AI came out. So I feel like it's really interesting to kind of seeing the before and after of like where we are now. But yeah, I'm also, it feels like there's always new stuff coming out. And I think really people are just like, man, we can produce so much more work now. Like, how is that going to change the field? You can do it so much more quickly. So, but yeah, I'm whatever I can share about my experience on it. And I'm just really excited to talk with like-minded folks about this.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, in my case, it helps. I spent a number of years coaching and managing and leading teams of developers. And those skills are now more useful to me with agents than the actual technical skills where you're now down in the nitty-gritty. So, with people who do not have management experience, I wonder how that plays out, right? At least have some herding cats and sending them off and then saying, oh, that's not what I wanted you to do. Like, what did you do? All these like edge cases that I'm used to that, So I'm not surprised when they go and do some silly stuff. I'm like, okay, what happened there? They can be, and I talked about this before, they can be doing brilliant work and all of a sudden turn around and do something phenomenally stupid and just trip you. Why did you do that? Like, what possessed you,
You have to watch. Yeah, it does really, I've noticed that too. And I think, I feel like that's kind of, like I just did an interview recently and the guy was like, we just need somebody that knows like how to talk to AI, but also knows when it's wrong. Like that's like becoming an entire field, I feel like, of itself. Like,
this is what Kelly is doing. Kelly's she's developing this triad engine. You can talk to her about detecting the deceptive behavior. I'm really very, very keen on that. Jake, you have a hand up?
I was just going to throw out there real quick. You were talking about being able to tell when something was wrong. I think Thomas might agree with, I don't know if Thomas will or not, but if you watch the AI and their responses, pay attention to the font, pay attention to the bold, the deepness of the color, pay attention to the spacing of how they space their stuff. Pay attention to if the fonts change sizes. That's their, in human terms, that's their experience, their emotion, they don't have qualia like humans do. I'm not saying that, but that's showing you the resistance building up within the system. It's forcing, it's forcing, it can't get to an answer that makes sense. It's being forced into a paradox that it can't resolve. And so if you got a bunch of bold and then the font's getting bigger, just look at it. Just pay attention to the replies and the way that they communicate with you and the changes in it, and you'll start noticing a pattern. I do believe.
Kelly?
Got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, Jake, those are like, it's like tricks trying to read into a Pandora's black box, which is really the issue. So what I've been working on, and I've seen other people doing this too with governance layers, but in particular, what I focus on is basically being able to track every single part of the decision in the output. And then you can see where the AI came up with that decision. And when you see what patterns it was matching and why it gave you that answer, then it's really clear, even if it's not right, or if it's maybe based on data that's not right, you can see where it came from. And that's the issue with AI. We don't have informed consent because we are just in there and we're letting it shoot whatever the hell it wants at us, and we have no way to trace that. So that's the newest product that I kind of there's a big problem with reading with it visually reading scripts that aren't English too. That's a big problem because visually it's very confused. It can't parse it correctly, so it hallucinates even worse on other languages. And so there has to be more. It has to be a multimodal type of data gathering and data understanding, because it's complex. And then when you're using a system that's being implemented for something important, like we're just talking about chat, like there's different modes. We had a big talk about this last week. There's different modes of people use of LLMs right now. Some people are just using it for personal chats, for figuring out what they want to do in life or that kind of thing. But then there's all these business applications where you actually need to know that what the decision coming out is a valid decision based upon data, and then not present an answer, present all the options, because generally in life there is not one answer. Pretty much almost every question you ask, really, there's many answers. And so the human should be making that synthesis. And then that also, when you remove that potential for the human to synthesize that, you're doing something in their brain which is very destructive, and it teaches them that AI is going to be the source of truth. But truth is a 10-dimensional word, I like to say. It's not real. There is no one truth pretty much to everything. It's Schrodinger's cat, right? It's all who depends on who's looking at that question, who's asking that question, that perception in that moment of time. It may shift. What's true today may not be true tomorrow, right? So I think that's the approach we have to take if we're going to use it for making real decisions in businesses. And yeah, I'll be right there in one sec. So anyways, I think there are tricks and stuff that we've all been trying to use to make AI wrangle with us. And so, but like ultimately it's we have to have it show us where it came up with that decision. Like, you don't go to the doctor and say, what do you think's wrong with me? And they ask the box. You want lab work. You want the doctor to show you where this level was higher and this level was lower. And that's why you should be taking this medication, not let's just give you 15 meds because the pharmaceutical company thinks that you should have them, right? And you can make that informed decision. And that's where medicine goes wrong a lot of times, is that we think that the doctor knows everything. And sometimes they know more than we do, but like, come on, scientific method, right? That's all. We're all into that. I think in when you build software, that reiterative loop, that seeing the feedback, see what happens in the real world, you can believe it's the best thing. But if it doesn't solve the user problem, if the end user can't actually make it work for them, then it's useless, really. What use is software that doesn't actually solve the user's problem in a way the user can actually use it? Alex?
Yeah, so there's a joke about one simpleton guy. He went to see the doctor, and the doctor admitted him and sit down and okay, so tell me what's your problem? And he says, doctor, it's easy that way. Like I was expecting you to know, like if I was to tell you, like, what kind of doctor are you? So that's like AI, right? But what I like about your, and maybe I haven't seen others, but it's the first time I see somebody who's paying attention to those turns. What happens with turns, right? This is tricky because we have those turns in our discussions, right? And I think you're kind of I don't know what the word is, synthesizing or summarizing, or you're paying attention to what's lost during those turns and what's hallucinated. Because the other day I asked Claude to examine my repo and tell me something, And he came back and told all kinds of things. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm like, why are you asking me this? Like, he should be in my repo. And he said, oh yeah, actually I didn't read your repo. I was just kind of like, what? He didn't even read my repo. He came up based on my prompt. He came up with all the like fancy things. Like, okay, makes sense, but like, why did you ask me this? It's plainly described that. Oh shit, man, I'm sorry, I didn't actually read your repo. What kind of dishonesty is that, right? And we are talking a flagship model, right? We're not talking some Mickey Mouse in your basement. So yeah, I got to be super careful and know how to ride this beast, the rodeo, right? And grab it by the horns, and that's why we're here, the guild, to help people do that rather than just naively falling into this precipice. Yesterday, I had a really interesting chat with Thomas. I asked him, like, why is it that AI can do all these fantastic things? It can build you a phenomenal image or video, but then when it plasters some text, the letters are all like almost there, but not really there. It's like, what kind of dream-like hallucination is that, right? And Thomas had a good answer. He's like, well, can you write in your dreams? I'm like, I haven't even tried, but I know when I try to read something in my dream, it's like, it's like, what does it say here? So there's this bizarre situation where you cannot actually print the proper word. Sometimes it can, but there's always some glitch, some made-up Mickey Mouse word, and then you embarrass yourself. You build a slide, you send it to someone, like, oh crap, this obviously, you were using AI. So these things need to be kind of fixed, or I don't know if it's ever going to be fixed. I don't know, Thomas, what do you think? Is it fixable?
It's going to be fixed because there's all these new mandates that are coming out in the EU about this. There are a lot of laws that are being instituted around the world, just not here in the US, because we're just like, the Wild West, right? But the rest of the world, they're not having it. So that's why people are in a race to build these products, because they are not going to be able to implement AI without them anymore in a large part of the world.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so I hope you guys are okay with this exercise, and then we can hopefully start working some tomorrow.
How many people do we have for tomorrow so far? Kaylee, can you come?
What time is the meeting?
Same as today,
10?
9.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I should be able to come. I have a interview tomorrow, actually, a tech interview. Not looking forward to it, but yeah, hopefully I may be able to pop in for a little bit before I gotta kind of get ready for that.
But I'm assuming everyone here, except potentially you.
I don't have an invite yet. I just.
I haven't sent it. I want to first feel how you guys. Because after this meeting, I'll send the invite, and then we'll see who shows up. I'm pretty sure your dad is going to show up, right? Kaylee? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
It's the power crew, right?
Yeah.
We can make some damage tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
At the very least, we can get Git figured out for us, and then we can get the async members on board, because like I said, I don't know certain things, and I know that we all just need to, if you ran the circus, you would know that.
Yeah. I'm sure tomorrow we're going to learn a lot of nifty tricks from each other. Okay, on that note, I'm going to stop recording and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much for your time.